Well, here we are. It's Thursday night, and we're going to do another live show. See if anybody shows up a little bit later on. Right now, it's kind of empty, but we're going to have some fun anyway. Tonight, we're going to make ceviche. It's something most people don't know very much about. It's pretty simple, actually. It's the fish. It's fish that's cooked in the acid that's in whatever you're using for the acid. In this case, we're going to be using lime juice. The acid actually cooks the fish. It's pretty neat, and it comes out really, really good. So we're going to go ahead and make that. And also, we're going to make a Peruvian, and this is Peruvian style ceviche. We're also going to make a Peruvian fish soup. Now, this fish soup has several different kinds of things in it. It's got potatoes and onions and cod, some scallops, and some squid. I've got some squid tentacles and a few little squid rings. I couldn't find any fresh. I had to get some frozen today, but it'll be just fine. And a lot of clam juice, and it's really good stuff. Now, I've only made ceviche about 4 times in my life, but I do know that Peruvian ceviche requires that you have a couple of things that go with it, or it just isn't Peruvian ceviche. So the first thing is we got to have sweet potato and corn. Corn, already got it here. We're just going to bring that up to a boil and let it go for about 5 minutes. And that's just regular old sweet corn. It said, when I got it, it said bicolor corn. There's only one color on that corn, and it's yellow. But it'll be fine for this. I'm going to peel up my sweet potato here. I had to dig through the big pile of sweet potatoes. Or actually, I had to dig through the big pile of yams to find a couple of sweet potatoes. People seem to mix them together and think that they're the same thing, and they're definitely not the same thing. Yams are a totally different animal. All right, there we go. Peel him up. Now, what we want to do is we want to cut this. Sweet potatoes are a little bit greasy, so it's a good idea if you hold on to them when you go to cut them with something that's not going to slide. Now, what we want to do is we want to cut this thing into about about a ½ inch little rings, and try to keep them even if you can. It's hard because sweet potatoes are harder than regular potatoes, and it's kind of difficult to keep your knife going. It's learning how to see if I can do this without cutting my finger off. Learning how to twist your knife as you cut without cutting the food at a weird angle. Okay, there we go. Got that. And we need to boil these up just like potatoes. It's this Peruvian ceviche and most of the way South American ceviches are indeed served with potatoes and something else. Peruvian is always served with corn on the cob. Let's see if I can get a couple more here. I'm gonna be taking this to work too, so see what the people think of that. It's something different for them. All right, let's bring that up to a boil and just let it boil for a little while. Okay, that gets that started. Now we got to start making our soup. The actual ceviche itself takes a very, very short amount of time. It's quick to make. It's very and you kind of got to eat it quickly. So we're going to start with our soup here, and we need something that I don't currently have. I need a big uh-oh. Well, darn. Unfortunately, it's in here. This is going to have to get transferred because I need to use this. I didn't think we'll careful about that, did I? Okay. This is some bean soup I made the other day. These are ham hocks. These go away. They've given up everything they have to give. It was in there for hours. All right, so let's. And besides, eating ham hocks is fine, but it's a lot of work for very little results. All right. I don't even know if I got a lid for this guy. No, I don't. Okay. I don't know where the lids go. It's they just go away. And they never come back. Ever. Alright, let's get out our fish while I'm at it. Let it cool down and warm up a little bit. Here's our scallops. Alright. And then we gotta wash this guy out. Good planning, huh? Oh well. Sometimes things go correctly. That's when it really worries me. If everything went right, I would be really concerned. Alright, so we need, I forget exactly how much of this is. It's like a tablespoon of oil. Tablespoon of oil. And I need an onion. One white onion chopped. Oh, doing well today. Okay. Since this is a soup, I'm going to make this a pretty fine chop. Better turn my oil on, dummy. Okay. One medium white onion, chopped up. Diced. Lots of ways to dice an onion. This just happens to be my favorite. Cut it across, cut it down in half, then cut it across a couple of times, and then lengthwise about 8 or 9 times, and then just cut it sideways about 6 or 8 times. Throw that into the oil. This is a very flavorful soup, and it's not cream based, so it's not a cream soup. A little bit of salt in here just to help bring the flavor out of some of the waters and oils out of the onions. All right. All right. Now we got a jalapeno and a serrano. We got to seed these guys because I don't want all that heat. Serranos, this is a serrano. It's a little chilly. Pretty warm. A little warmer than a jalapeno. But if you take out the seeds, like I've said before, and the white ribs, you end up with a little bit of heat, but you end up with more flavor. Turn him down a little bit. Get my favorite stirring tool here. Big old flat wooden paddle. Okay. And de-seed the jalapeno. That's not as horribly bad as the rest of them. And we want to dice this serrano up very, 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 very fine. This is going to sort of take the place of pepper in this dish. You actually season with the serrano. Okay, that's pretty fine. Give it a little bit more, just to make sure. And the jalapeno, about the same way. See if I can keep from cutting the tips of my fingers off. That is a very big jalapeno. I think I'm only going to use half of it because that was really large. How are we doing here? Onions are sweating nicely. Well, they're actually a little more than sweating. They're actually cooking at this point. Okay. All right. We'll add these in here. This will give it quite a nice little bite. And let them sweat down for a little bit. My potatoes and my corn are boiling away. Got to make sure that I check those because they'll get pretty hot or pretty soft pretty quickly. They're not really potatoes. They're not like a potato. They have no starch in them, so they don't really. They go from cooked to overcooked real fast. The corn is just corn, and it's not that good a corn, so I'm going to let that go for just a couple of minutes. Make sure that it gets all the way cooked. That's all done at the end when we get the soup done. Okay. All right, so we got that going. Now, what will be the next best thing to cook? Probably the ceviche. We'll get started on this. We got to get out our sole. I couldn't get any fresh Peruvian sea bass, but the next best thing to it is sole. And I got some really pretty sole fillets here. These are just absolutely gorgeous. They're nice and meaty, and not even a hint of fishy smell to them. That's what's nice about having a fishmonger. It really is. It is just, having a fishmonger is wonderful. Now we got to cut these guys up into more or less bite-sized pieces. I personally like them well, about that size. Okay, about a good inch by inch, or as close as you can get it, because if you make them too small, it gets really strong really fast. So what I do is I cut it down the center, and then I cut them in, which makes it about an inch wide, and then I cut them about inch pieces on top of that. You know, it's really nice when you do have a fishmonger, because you can, I mean, I'm in Ohio, dead center in the middle of Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, and I'll tell you what, fresh fish here, if it ain't catfish, is kind of a rarity. Unless you got some guy, the guy that I go to, he's got a wholesale fish market that he sells to all the restaurants here, and he also decided he was going to open up next door to that, attached to it, the same building, a retail fish food store. And I am so glad he did. All right, there we go. 1 pound of fish. How are we doing here? We just want this to get browned off a little bit. It is. Oh. Boy, does that smell good. Okay. Ooh, and it's got a bite to it, too. I'll tell you what. Okay, I need a couple of cloves of garlic smashed. So this is for the soup. The ceviche actually has almost nothing in it. I'm doing all of this stuff ahead of time with the soup because the soup is much harder to make. It isn't all that hard anyway, but it's harder to make than the ceviche, I'll tell you that. Alright, so I got a couple cloves of garlic, and I want these really smashed good. They're smashed, and just a little bit chopped up. Okay. Alright, so now that that's done, I pour that, get that in there. Just a little bit of brownness to it, not much. Throw in the garlic, and alright, and let that go for about a minute. I can turn off my corn now because it's done. Alright, now we need 2 8-ounce boxes of clam juice bottles, these little 8-ounce bottles that everybody's familiar with of the clam juice. Just pour that in there, stir it around, get all the bits off the side. Okay, and we may as well give a little poke at our. How are we doing here? About another couple of minutes, and those will be ready. The corn is ready; it's already been in there, and of course, it's Ohio. I know how to cook corn. Okay, so we let the clam juice work. I've got my fishes there. Let's see. Okay. So I need to cover this and let it come up to a boil, and then take it down to a simmer. All right. Now, do the rest of the preparation for our ceviche here. Ceviche. All right. Okay. I need red onion. Here it is. Need the red onion, and that actually gets sliced very fine. Like into rings. This is a pretty good sized red onion too. So, yeah. Try not to cut too deeply into it because I kind of want rings out of this, or sort of rings out of this. Just makes it look pretty. Doesn't help anything, but it does look pretty. Okay. There we go. Now, thinly sliced. Or fairly thinly sliced. Remember, there is a pound of fish here, so you need quite a few onions. Last time I did this, I said, you know, this kind of reminds me of doing onions and cucumbers in vinegar. Same thing without the fish. Alright. Alright, so there, we got that. Now we got to get a big bowl. Stainless steel works pretty well, as long as it's non-reactive. Alright, so you take, this is really, really difficult to do here, but it is one of the world's greatest foods. Take your fish, drop them into the bowl, take your onions, drop them into the bowl, get you an ají chili, A-J-I, yeah, if you can find one. We're going to use Serrano. Check the potatoes. They're done. Okay. Off the heat, because the potatoes definitely will keep on cooking if I leave them on the stove. You can't find ají chilies around here, so I'm not even going to try to order one off the web or whatever. You can use a Serrano. It'll work fine. It's in the same Scoville units of between 50 and 60,000 Scoville units, which is about the same thing. Has a little bit different taste, but it isn't that much. Now this one, you want very, very fine dice on it. This just gives the little bit of oomph to it. Sorry if I don't talk when I'm cutting something like this. It's kind of hard on the fingers if you do. All right, and throw them in there. All right, now mix that all up. Good. Okay, perfect. And get another bowl. And in that bowl, you put a good, good couple of tablespoons of salt, cold water, this works very well if you're out on a picnic too, by the way, if you want to keep things cold. And hello, ice. Just regular old bag ice. That isn't in one big giant globular bunch. See, another use for meat pounder. They work great for that. Okay. All right. Now, and you take this and you put it in there. Keep it cold. And then you take 2 cups of lime juice. This is just lime juice. And you pour the lime juice, all of it, right on top of the fish and the onions. Get your hands in there, and I guarantee you, when you get your hands in there, you will find every cut that you have ever had on your hands. Ow. Okay? I mean, ow. That would be about 15 limes worth or more. All right, now we're going to put some salt, like 2 healthy pinches, probably a good tablespoon, or I mean good teaspoon of salt in there. And you just let that sit there, in there, soaking in the lime juice for about 10 to 15 minutes. And that's all it takes, 10 to 15 minutes. So that's doing its thing. It's all heated up and good. Or not heated up, that's cold. That's why I wanted to get this one done now, because it was hot. It was 93 degrees today, so it was perfect. Okay. All right, this is good. This is up to a boil, boiling nicely. I want to turn that down to a simmer and let it simmer for about 5 minutes. All right, now, next thing we got to do is, so I do have it written down here. Oh, I got to put in some salt. About 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. And you got those peppers in there, so you don't need any pepper at all. All right, then let that go, and just let that simmer for about 5 minutes. And I got to cut up some potatoes. So I got 1 pound of new potatoes, already washed and cleaned, right here. And I just want to cut up these new potatoes. If they're little bitty ones, cut them into quarters. If they're this size, that's quarters. If they're this size, you got to cut them into bite-sized chunks. The idea is you just want them all to cook about the same time. So 1 pound of potatoes. And your stuff go in there. And I think I need a lime. I need 1 lime cut in half, and I need to set this aside. Lots of limes used in other parts of the world other than here. We don't use limes for a lot except for cocktails. I want to cut it in half. Then I want to cut it in half again. And then I want to cut it in half again. And what I'm going to end up with is 8 pieces of lime. Cut it lengthwise, 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 and you end up with little lime wedges. Perfect. They're going to go in there because I set those aside. Okay. All right, now I need the cod. I need to cut my cod up. I got a nice little chunk of cod here. It's about a pound. Nice piece of fresh cod. Nice piece of fresh cod. Cod makes the best soup. It's very firm and it holds together nicely. And let's see. No, just smells like it came out of the water yesterday, which, knowing that guy, it might have. Okay. So we'll cut him down the center. And we want to cut this into bite-sized bits, because this is a soup. Okay. Just cut him into nice little, less than an inch, bite-sized pieces. One thing about the ceviche, you do actually want to eat this relatively soon after you make it, because it will continue to get a little bit stronger. I personally kind of like it really strong, but some people don't like that much of a lime taste to it. If you're not a fan of lime at all, forgot to say this, if you're really not a fan of lime, you can use lemon. You can even use plain vinegar if you want to. Anything that's acidy will work just fine. All right, how's that doing? Okay. Smells like clam broth. All right, now I got 1 can of 14 and a half ounce can of diced tomatoes, and I want to strain them off a little bit. You could dice these yourselves if you really want to, but the way they do them now in the store seems to be pretty good. Okay, get rid of the liquid, pour in the diced tomatoes. All right, stir it up. So we got our clam juice and our onions and our serrano chilies and our jalapeno chili in there, and serve that up, or stir that up. Oh yeah. And I only need a few of these lime pieces. So I need 3 of these lime pieces. Well, about a half a lime goes into there. And my cod goes in here, because it's the heaviest of them, of the fishes. We got to put this in here and let it cook. Not for long. It's fish soup. Okay. Put it in there, cover it, bring it back up to a boil, and get my, don't want to miss that little piece. No, no, no. Okay, stir it up, get it going. And I want to, got to put my potatoes in too. Potatoes. Forgot about my potatoes. Potatoes and the cod goes in at the same time. Okay. I was staring right at them too. It's amazing. What you want to do is you want to cook this long enough for the potatoes to become fork tender, which means you have to bring it up to a boil. Now, I got some really nice scallops here. Yeah, this is not a cheap dinner. Okay, you take the scallops and you cut them in half lengthwise. This is very important. You have to cut them across. The reason you do this is because you end up, it looks like you got more scallops in there. And people generally like scallops. So you got to make sure that at least you've got some for everybody. And if you cut them crossways, sideways down, they'll stay together. If you cut them across, they'll fall apart. If you don't want to cut with the grain, you want to cut against the grain. Okay, those are ready to go. All right. So, potatoes are in here doing their thing, along with the codfish is doing its thing. Let's take a check at these guys. Yeah, they're done. So let's drain them off so they can quit cooking. The corn is done for sure. Okay, corn's done, that's done, that's done. Wow, we're really getting along here really good. I need to chop up some cilantro. About, I think it calls for half a cup, doesn't it? I think it's a half a cup of cilantro, I forget. A quarter cup of cilantro. Okay, half of that, minus the stems. Loosely chopped. And that's going to go in at the very end. Now, we'll put this away so don't waste it. Get out one of my little green bags. Green bag! These things actually do work. They're expensive, but they'll save your food. All right. So, now we're kind of waiting for a little bit before we throw that in. We want to get this back up to a boil and get those potatoes working. The ceviche is cevicheing. You want to do this, kind of stir it around a little bit. You want to do this until the fish gets very, very white. I mean, fish is kind of pinkish. You put it in that lime juice, and after about 10 or 15 minutes, it'll get very, very, very white. And that's when you know it's done. It's that's the secret. And it will be, well, you can eat fish raw anyway, but it actually does cook it. It cooks it via the acid in the food, or in the lime juice. It's really good. I like ceviche. It's wonderful. All right. You just don't get it very often. You sure don't get it in the Midwest. Of course, you don't often get decent fish in the Midwest either, unless you know where to find it. All right, just clean up a little bit here, and then we'll finish off our soup as soon as those little chunks of potatoes are done, and then we'll give it a taste too. Actually, I want to give that a taste for the. See if I've got enough salt in there. Oh yeah, plenty. Okay. So how are we doing? And I'm going to need about a cup of water. I think it's about a cup of water. Is it not a cup of water? No, 2 cups of water, because it's pretty strong at this point. 2 cups of water, which I will set over here. Actually, no, I want this. No, I want to go in now. It's boiling. Okay, good. Now I want the water to go in. All right. And it's got those limes in there and the lemons, the peppers and things like that. It's really, really good. All right. There we go. So we're pretty much waiting. This is going to be done. We do not, in that fish, you don't want to throw the scallops in until the very end, and you don't want to throw this is my little, like half a pound, 3/4 of a pound, I guess, of calamari, well, squid. And you can't cook it too long. The thing about squid is, and I've said it before, if you've ever watched this, The thing about squid is it's good exactly 1 minute into cooking and after 30 minutes into cooking. Anytime in between, it's basically chewing gum. So you don't want to overcook it. And you can eat it raw, so you don't want to undercook it. You can't undercook it, but you sure don't want to overcook it. All right. We got to bring this up to a boil. Let that's starting to smell awfully, awfully good. Okay. How's our fish doing? Okay, our fish is turning very, very white. Very white. With the onions and all that stuff in there. I wonder how it'd be if you actually did put some cucumbers in there. That'd be good. Okay. Alrighty. I stood in the grocery store today and I said, you know, should I buy 15 limes and squeeze them? And I said to myself, no. I don't think so. Our ceviche is done. We got to take it, and you want to take it out of this lime juice, because if you don't, it'll continue to cook, and you don't want that. So you want to get it out of the lime juice and into another bowl. Spider's good for this. It's sort of a Chinese or Japanese or something device, but it works really good. All right, don't want to leave any of it behind. All right, there we go. Now we want to take this and put it on a nice plate. What have I got for a nice plate? Well, we'll put it in a nice white bowl. That'll be nice. Okay. So, take a few of your onions and just sort of make a little bed down in the bottom like that with them. And some of your ceviche. Arrange it nicely. Top it with a couple more little pieces of onion, like that. Take just a few sprigs of cilantro. Put it on top so it's pretty. This is my idea. It's not in the recipe, but a lot of things aren't. Just a few little sprinklings of jalapeno. Get you a couple of your rounds of potato, sweet potato. Get you a chunk of corn. Ow, hot corn. Okay. Get out your cleaver, because you're going to need it for this. Okay? Cut the end off of your corn, and you want to cut your corn into, wow, about 3/4 of an inch rings. And then you take your rings, and you just sort of pile them up like that. All right? There you go. And we have real honest-to-goodness Peruvian ceviche. Let's give it a shot and see what it tastes like. That's all there is to it, by the way. As fast as it goes. All right. Get a little piece of ceviche. Make sure you get some onion. It's very limey, but break off a piece of and the sweet potato just breaks it down so that it's a whole different flavor. And your little Cute little corns. You know, they really know what they're doing, putting these together. The taste is just amazing. Pardon me for a minute. Wow. That's good. All right, let's finish up on our soup. Let's take a look at it here. Check the potatoes. See how the potatoes are. If I can see. You want the potatoes to be fork tender. They are. Okay. Potatoes are about fork tender. And you got those tomatoes in there and everything, so that's good. And it's been boiling up real well. Take a little taste. Check for seasoning. Good. Okay. Now we take our squid. Take our squid and dump her in there. And our scallops, and dump them in there. And just let it come back up to a boil again. Not for very long. Like I said, you don't want that stuff, those squids and things, to cook for very long. Oh, I love that corn. I love food, period. I guess you've probably figured that out by now. You just come on back up to a boil here, and we'll get a bowl. Won't show up very well in that, so I guess I'll do it in one of my yellow bowls. All right, these guys feel good. Wow, you got to try this sometime, just for something different to do with fish. And it's so good on a hot night. And it's hot in here. Haven't turned the air conditioner on at all. It's like 86. Which is too hot. That's just stupid. All right. So we're boiling. Brought it back up to a boil. Minute and a half. That's all I'm going to let it go. Oh. And now I throw in cilantro as a soft herb. It has to be put in at the very end. You cannot put it in and cook it. I'm not a big cilantro fan either, by the way. It's okay, but I'm not just enamored with it. You know what? I think I'm going to put some more of the last piece of this jalapeno in there, because boy, did that added a really nice little bite to it. Okay. So, get me out a ladle here in my bowl, as we just about ready to enjoy the soup. Now, the thing about this soup that's really kind of neat is, remember we put a lime in there, so we got to kind of dig the limes out, because you don't want them in the soup when you serve it to anybody. You're actually supposed to just throw half of a lime in there, but I already cut it up, so there we go. Timer off, soup off. There we go. My. That is so good. Look at that. It's just gorgeous. A little bit of cilantro on top, just for looks. No, it has a little flavor, kind of like dirt. I shouldn't say that, but it's authentic. All right, there we go. We have Peruvian soup and ceviche. Let's give this a try. I'm gonna try one of my little calamari rings first. Oh my. Oh. Oh, that is so good. Very light. Very, very light. But it's definitely got a lot of flavor to it. Now give me one of these. Got to get one of the little, yeah. Can never remember the name of these things. My wife used to call them little square things that swim in the sea. She really didn't know that they came in a shell. Yeah, these. Oh, goodness. I'm going to squeeze a little lime on top of there just for the heck of it. See how this tastes. That's what it says to do in the book. Try it. You want something light, quick, 45-minute dinner that has all kinds of different flavors for you that you're just not going to get normally, and you want something special. Ceviche and fish soup. Wow. Just amazing. See you next time. I'm gonna eat.